They stared as the stern split a massive wave, the rush of the breaking sea the only sound. After a brief moment suspended at the crest, they gradually eased down the backside, the black monster disappearing into the darkness. "Could you imagine if we'd hit that one square on?" Vidar asked in a hushed voice. "Or amidships. We'd all be on the way to Valhalla by now." Their eyes drifted to the mast, now shattered and useless, the top half torn away like a twig, along with a major portion of the sail, victim of the stealth with which the storm had hit. That had been a costly miscalculation. He should have lowered the woven wool sheet before the wind could rip it loose. But he'd been trying for every bit of speed possible. His men's arms were strong, but after almost 24 hours of rowing, even in shifts, they were reaching their limit. Among the most impressive longships ever launched, Sigrun was built to exacting standards for a crew of 90, with rowing positions for up to 80 men, 2 to each of the ship's 40 oars, and a detachable mast 50 feet in height. She boasted a length of 112 feet and a beam of 16, a keel hewn from one massive oak, and square stones for ballast. Sigrun could travel at a speed approaching 14 knots under sail in calm conditions, but during a winter storm of this proportion, in the farthest reaches of the North Atlantic, speed wasn't an issue. Staying afloat was. The Sigrun had a typical Viking lapstrake, double-ender hull, but with a taller gunwale for open-sea expeditions, and its stern and bow were sculpted with identical dragon heads. Ships like Sigrun had a solid track record, navigating some of the most dangerous ocean on the planet, and their seaworthiness and speed were legendary. But even the most durable craft had its limits, and the storm had pushed Sigrun and her crew far beyond anything they'd been through in all their years together. Long hours passed, and as dawn's first glimmer fought through the heavy gray clouds, the seas began to flatten. The captain called out the order for the exhausted oarsmen to rest, now that the most dangerous part had passed. And then his eyes spotted a new menace. Ice. 50 yards ahead, an iceberg loomed in the haze, easily the size of a small hill. He twisted to the crewman manning the rudder and yelled a warning. "Ice! Ahead!" The ship had a shallow draft, but even so, the churning waves could push them too near the submerged mass, which would shatter the wooden hull and sink the longship, the icy water killing all hands within minutes. The bow swung slowly, the steering sluggish as it resisted the surge of the following seas. Another rolling swell pushed them nearer, too close for the captain's liking. "Put your backs into it! Pull, damn you! Pull or we're done for!" The ship glided past the brooding ice as silently as a wraith. The captain's eyes roved over the frozen monolith, an island of desolation in the middle of the ocean. He offered yet another silent prayer to the gods. If the ship was in the ice, the storm must have blown them farther north than he'd feared, and the overcast would make it impossible to plot a course using the primitive means at his disposal. "Bring one of the ravens from the hold," he ordered. Vidar relayed the command to the nearest crewman, who scuttled away. The storm surge was nearly spent, and it was time to use one of the Viking seafarers' secret weapons, birds. 2 men heaved a deck hatch open and descended into the forward cargo hold. Moments later, they emerged carrying a rough wooden cage with a large, agitated black form in it. The taller of the 2 men carried the cage to the captain's station at the stern and set it down on the deck. With a final glare at the sea, the captain squatted on his haunches and eyed the raven. "Well, my friend, it's time. May you fly straight and true. Don't let me down. Our survival depends on your instincts. Let Odin guide you." He straightened and gave the crewman a curt nod. "Release it, and wish it Godspeed." The crewman lifted the cage to chest height as Vidar approached, and after fiddling